Epstein files claim another scalp in the United Kingdom. In a huge development, the UK police arrest the brother of King Charles, former Prince Andrew, on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The police say they are assessing reports that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor had sent trade reports to disgraced financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in 2010. Andrew also faces allegations of raping young girls who were victims of Epstein's sex trafficking on the latter's island. Earlier, King Charles had stripped Andrew of his royal title. After days of speculation, Bill Gates pulls out of the AI summit in Delhi, skips the keynote address that he was scheduled to deliver. The Microsoft co-founder is in the line of fire over his links with convicted sex offender and pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Day 4 of the AI Impact Summit in Delhi sees the most high-profile guests coming together. French President Emmanuel Macron hails India's UPI success story, saying India has built what no other country can. Prime Minister Modi outlines India's Manav vision for artificial intelligence. Also in attendance, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and Google CEO Sundar Pichai, among other big names from around the globe. The AI Summit group photo goes viral for its awkward moment as rivals OpenAI's Sam Altman and Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei refuse to hold hands like the rest of the guests on stage. Instead, they choose to raise their fists. The picture has set the internet abuzz. The Supreme Court comes down hard on state governments over the culture of distributing freebies ahead of elections. The court says indiscriminate handouts, from free electricity to cash transfers, are hurting the economy and not a penny is left for development. Shock and panic grips Taran in Punjab after AAP Sarpanch Harpinder Singh is shot dead at a wedding. His brother is critically injured chasing the gunman. The killing marks the second attack on an Aam Aadmi Party leader in the state in just the last 10 days. Is a war between Washington and Tehran looming? The latest media reports from the United States suggest the US military is ready to attack Iran as early as this weekend, even as President Trump waits to make a decision. This comes amid a massive US military buildup in the Middle East. Donald Trump convenes the first meeting of his Board of Peace in Washington. While the plan is to raise funds and forces for Gaza reconstruction and security, there are fears that Trump wants this board to eventually replace the United Nations. Hello and welcome to the Times of India. You're watching Headlines at 8 with me, Neha Khanna. Our big focus on the show tonight: Epstein files have claimed another scalp in the United Kingdom. In a massively significant development, the UK police have arrested the brother of King Charles, former Prince Andrew, on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The police say they are assessing reports that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor had sent trade reports to disgraced financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in 2010. Andrew also faces allegations of raping young girls who were victims of Epstein's sex trafficking on the latter's island. Scores of documents and pictures released as part of Epstein files by the US Justice Department show Andrew in intimate positions with underage girls. Earlier, King Charles had stripped Andrew of his royal title. He has been arrested at his temporary home, the Sandringham Estate. The Thames Valley Police have confirmed that the ex-royal is in custody. They say, and I quote, "Following a thorough assessment, we have now opened an investigation into this allegation of misconduct in public office. It's important that we protect the integrity and objectivity of our investigation as we work with our partners to investigate this alleged offence." Police officers are carrying out searches at Andrew's addresses in Berkshire and Norfolk. Despite a mountain of evidence pointing to his involvement in Epstein's illegal activities, including the rape of little children, Andrew, who turns 66 today, has consistently denied any wrongdoing. The Epstein files have triggered a global storm with growing calls for stern action against all the powerful men who were allegedly involved in raping children trapped and trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, who died by suicide in a US prison in 2019. The names that figure in the Epstein files include some of the richest and most powerful men in the world. The release of these documents has sparked massive outrage the world over and raised serious questions about abuse of power at the highest levels and victimization of little children. After days of speculation, Bill Gates finally pulled out of the AI summit today amidst outrage over his Epstein links. His philanthropic organization, the Gates Foundation, announced that he would not be delivering the keynote address at the summit and that the foundation would be represented by Ankur Vora, president of the Africa and India forces. The statement said, and I quote, "After careful consideration and to ensure the focus remains on the AI Summit's key priorities, Mr. Gates will not be delivering his keynote address. The Gates Foundation remains fully committed to our work in India to advance our shared health and development goals." On Tuesday, Bill Gates' name went missing from the list of key participants for the summit, but later reappeared. The Microsoft co-founder has been in the line of fire as his name appears repeatedly in the latest tranche of Epstein files released by the US Justice Department last month. In one of the emails that are part of the documents, Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted sexual offender and pedophile, alleged that Gates engaged in extramarital affairs, visited his island multiple times, and that his relationship with the billionaire philanthropist ranged from helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls to facilitating his illicit trysts with married women. In fact, one of the emails reveals that Bill Gates had wanted antibiotics to be secretly given to his then-wife Melinda Gates after he allegedly contracted a sexually transmitted disease. Gates has expressed regret over the time spent with the sex trafficker and has apologized, but he has also denied allegations of wrongdoing and rubbished some of the emails that were purportedly exchanged between him and Epstein. There has been global outrage over the Epstein files. In India too, the Andhra Pradesh government faced a huge backlash on social media for rolling out the red carpet for Bill Gates earlier this week. Many had argued that India must not allow Gates, tainted by the Epstein scandal, to address the AI summit out of respect for and in solidarity with the victims of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring. It was day 4 of the AI Impact Summit in New Delhi, one that saw the most high-profile guests from around the globe. French President Emmanuel Macron began his address with a namaste and praise for India for having built what no other country can. He referred to India's vitally acknowledged UPI or digital payment system success story. Macron said 10 years ago, a street vendor in Mumbai could not open a bank account. No address, no papers, no access. But today the same vendor accepts payments on his phone. That's not a technology story, that's a civilizational story. At the mega summit that has attracted heads of state, business leaders, innovators and policymakers from the world of artificial intelligence, the French president hailed India's progress in adopting and democratizing AI know-how. He said India built something no other country in the world can, a digital identity for 1.4 billion people, a payment system that now processes 20 billion transactions every month, a health infrastructure that has issued 500 million digital health IDs. We are clearly at the beginning of a huge acceleration. He then added, 10 years ago, the world said 1.4 billion people could not be brought into the digital economy. India proved them wrong. And today, some say AI is a game only the biggest can play. India and France, with Europe and our partners, those who believe in our approach, might have a different way. The future of AI will be built by those who combine innovation and responsibility, technology with humanity, and India and France will help shape this future, he said. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while addressing global leaders at the summit, outlined India's Manav vision for artificial intelligence. He explained that Manav, the Hindi word for human, serves as an acronym representing 5 core principles: a moral and ethical system, accountable governance, national sovereignty, particularly the right to data, accessible and inclusive technology, and valid and legitimate systems. He described AI as a historic transformation comparable to the invention of wireless communication. He also outlined AI's role in expanding human capabilities rather than merely making machines intelligent. On day 4 of the summit, Prime Minister Modi welcomed arriving world leaders, including United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres and International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva at the Bharat Mandapam venue in Delhi. The theme of the summit is Sarvjan Hitay, Sarvjan Sukhay, which means welfare for all, happiness of all. This is the 4th annual international gathering focused on artificial intelligence, following meetings in the UK in 2023, South Korea in 2024 and France in 2025. The India AI Impact Summit is the biggest one yet, having brought together over 20 heads of state and 500 global AI leaders, including around 100 CEOs and founders. OpenAI's Sam Altman, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei, Google boss Sundar Pichai and Google DeepMind head Demis Hassabis, as well as Adobe's Shantanu Narayan and Wipro Executive Chairman Rishad Premji are among those in attendance.
आज न्यू दिल्ली एआई इम्पैक्ट समिट में मैं एआई के लिए मानव विजन प्रस्तुत करता हूं। मानव का अर्थ होता है ह्यूमन, और मानव विजन कहता है मोरल एंड एथिकल सिस्टम्स। एआई एथिकल गाइडेंस पर आधारित हो, अकाउंटेबल गवर्नेंस यानी ट्रांसपेरेंट रूल्स, robust oversight, and national sovereignty यानी जिसका डेटा उसका अधिकार। एक्सेसिबल एंड इंक्लूसिव यानी एआई मोनोपोली नहीं, मल्टीप्लायर बने। वैलिड एंड लेजिटिमेट यानी एआई लॉफुल और वेरीफाइबल हो। भारत का ये मानव विजन 21वीं सदी की एआई आधारित दुनिया में मानवता के कल्याण की अहम कड़ी बनेगा।
That no other country in the world has built a digital identity for 1.4 billion people. A payment system that now processes 20 billion transactions every month. A health infrastructure that has issued 500 million digital health IDs. Here are the results. They call it the India Stack, open, interoperable, sovereign. That, dear friends, is what this summit is about. We are clearly at the beginning of a huge acceleration, and you perfectly described it during your interventions. But let me just recap.
I remember it being a quiet and modest coastal city brimming with potential. Now in that same city, Google is establishing a full-stack AI hub, part of our $15 billion infrastructure investment in India. When finished, this hub will house gigawatt-scale compute and a new international subsea cable gateway, bringing jobs and cutting-edge AI to people and businesses across India. Sitting on that train, I never imagined Vizag becoming a global AI hub. Just as I couldn't have imagined that one day I'd be spending time with teams figuring out how to put data centers into space.
Even as the focus at the AI Impact Summit today was on the high-profile dignitaries, including French President Emmanuel Macron and Google CEO Sundar Pichai, there was one awkward moment that quickly went viral, leaving the internet amused. A moment that spotlighted an intense and long-running rivalry. During the group photo at the summit, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi held hands with the guests standing next to him and encouraged other guests on stage to do the same as a show of unity, two men decided they would rather not. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei chose raised fists instead of holding hands. The two executives, representing fiercely competing AI companies, appeared briefly unsure before settling on the gesture, drawing amused reactions online. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stood at the center of the high-profile lineup, which included Google and Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai, Scale AI founder Alexander Wang, Meta's chief AI officer, and other global tech leaders. But the internet didn't take long to notice the awkward vibe between Altman and Amodei. Reacting to the viral picture, Siddharth Bhatia, co-founder of Pichai, wrote, "When will we have AGI? The day Dario and Sam hold hands." In the past, Dario Amodei has served as the Vice President of Research at Sam Altman's OpenAI. He left the company in early 2021 to co-found Anthropic with several other senior OpenAI researchers. The two are believed to have had major differences over the direction in which OpenAI was moving, and that reportedly led to them parting ways. At the start of February, Altman and Amodei took swipes at each other after Anthropic aired a Super Bowl campaign in the United States that appeared to mock OpenAI's move to introduce ads in ChatGPT. Altman, who believes in democratizing technology rather than keeping it behind paywalls, did not take the jibe kindly. He shot back, saying Anthropic serves an expensive product to rich people. "We are glad they do that, and we are doing that too, but we also feel strongly that we need to bring AI to billions of people who can't pay for subscriptions." Sam Altman and Dario Amodei have been in the game for quite long. Their rivalry has been evident on many occasions. For instance, both released their flagship coding tools just 20 minutes apart. The Supreme Court today came down hard on state governments' practice of pre-election handouts, often referred to as freebies. In a series of strong statements, the court demanded to know how states plan to fund actual development if they continued offering free food and free electricity. A proposal from the government of poll-bound Tamil Nadu to provide free electricity to its customers, irrespective of financial status, was the trigger for the court's scathing remarks on states spending crores on subsidies while running into budgetary deficits and complaining about a lack of money for development. The top court warned that the indiscriminate distribution of freebies, particularly for those who can afford to pay for utilities, has created a culture that seems to reward not working. Chief Justice Suryakant said, "What kind of culture are we developing pan-India? If you start giving free food from the morning, then a free cycle, then free electricity, and now we are reaching a stage where we transfer cash into people's accounts directly. There are children who cannot afford education, then the state must provide. It's the state's duty. But those who are affluent, yet any kind of freebie first comes to their pocket. Is it not high time for states to revisit these policy frameworks?" the Chief Justice asked. The court then added, "Sometimes we are really disturbed. Even if you are a revenue surplus state, is it not your obligation to spend on development for the overall public, to develop infrastructure, hospitals, schools and colleges? Instead, you keep on distributing things at the time of elections. Not a single penny is left for development because of such policies by state governments. It's the problem of all states," the court said. Over the past few years, the Supreme Court has consistently questioned freebies. In February 2025, it had argued that it made people unwilling to work and could lead to a class of parasites being created in the country. Is a war between Washington and Tehran looming? The latest media reports emerging from the United States seem to suggest that the US military is ready to attack Iran as early as this weekend, even though President Donald Trump has not made a final decision yet. The development comes amid a massive US military buildup in the Middle East, including warships, fighter jets, and refueling aircraft, laying the foundation for a potentially sustained campaign against Iran. According to a CNN report, the White House has been briefed that the military is ready for an attack by the weekend, but Trump remains unconvinced that it's the best course of action. The report says Trump has privately argued both for and against military action and polled advisors and allies on the best course of action. It remains unclear if he will make a decision by this weekend. Trump, who ordered strikes on Iran last year, has repeatedly threatened Tehran with further military action if ongoing talks do not reach a replacement for the nuclear deal, which the US president withdrew from in 2018 during his first term in office. Washington currently has 13 warships in the Middle East, 1 aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, 9 destroyers, and 3 littoral combat ships, with more on the way. The USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, is currently in the Atlantic Ocean, en route from the Caribbean to the Middle East after being ordered there by Trump earlier this month. It is accompanied by 3 destroyers. It is rare for 2 US aircraft carriers to be positioned in the Middle East. These carry dozens of warplanes and are crewed by thousands of sailors. The US had 2 of the massive warships in the region in June last year when it targeted 3 Iranian nuclear sites during Israel's 12-day campaign of strikes on Iran. Trump has also sent a large fleet of aircraft to the Middle East, including F-22 Raptor stealth fighter jets, F-15 and F-16 warplanes, and the KC-135 aerial refueling aircraft that are needed to sustain their operations.
There's many reasons and arguments that one could make for a strike against Iran.
The United States could launch military strikes on Iran as soon as Saturday. That stark warning, first reported by CBS News, cites senior national security officials who say President Donald Trump has been told American forces are ready to act within days. But despite the military's readiness, the president has not yet made a final decision. According to officials speaking on condition of anonymity, conversations inside the White House are fluid and ongoing, with risks of escalation being weighed against the consequences of restraint. Sources say top advisors have presented options for strikes that could begin as early as Saturday, though the timeline may ultimately extend beyond the weekend. Behind the scenes, the Pentagon is already repositioning personnel across the Middle East. Multiple officials confirm that some American personnel are being temporarily relocated to Europe or back to the United States as a precautionary measure. The move is designed to protect U.S. forces in the event Iran retaliates if strikes are authorized. One official stressed that shifting assets before potential military activity is standard Pentagon practice and does not automatically signal that an attack is imminent. Still, the optics are unmistakable. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is already operating in the region. A second carrier group, led by the USS Gerald R. Ford, is en route to the Middle East. As of Wednesday, maritime tracking data placed the Ford off the coast of West Africa, moving steadily toward theater. The show of force has not gone unnoticed in Tehran. Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, posted an AI-generated image depicting the Ford resting on the ocean floor. In a message shared on X, Khamenei warned that while American warships are dangerous, more dangerous still are the weapons capable of sending them to the bottom of the sea. The rhetoric underscores the volatility of this moment. Diplomacy, however, has not entirely collapsed. Iranian and American negotiators met for mediated nuclear talks in Geneva, Switzerland, earlier this week. The discussions lasted several hours. The Trump administration acknowledged that some progress was made. But at a White House briefing, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt cautioned that the two sides remain far apart on key issues. She said there are many arguments that could be made in favor of a strike against Iran, yet emphasized that diplomacy remains the president's preferred course. Leavitt declined to confirm whether any potential strike would be coordinated with Israel.
On Iran, I'm not asking you for military secrets here, but can you share a little bit about the president's thinking on whether or not to strike Iran, who he's talking to, what information he's consuming, and why a strike might be necessary on a nuclear program he says was obliterated by the last U.S. strike?
Well, there's many reasons and arguments that one could make for a strike against Iran. The president had a very successful operation as commander-in-chief with Operation Midnight Hammer, as you know, as you just said, totally obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. The president has always been very clear, though, with respect to Iran or any country around the world, diplomacy is always his first option, and Iran would be very wise to make a deal with President Trump and with this administration. He's talking to many people, of course, his national security team, first and foremost, and you know who the members of that team are. And this is something, obviously, the president takes seriously. He's always thinking about what's in the best interest of the United States of America, of our military, of the American people, and that's how he makes decisions with respect to military action of any kind.
In a high-stakes diplomatic push, U.S. President Donald Trump has convened the first meeting of his Board of Peace in Washington, bringing together representatives from more than 24 countries to chart Gaza's reconstruction and security future. The initiative, born out of Trump's peace blueprint, has so far secured pledges of $5 billion, which is a fraction of the estimated $70 billion needed to rebuild the war-ravaged territory. Member states are expected to commit thousands of personnel for an international stabilization and policing force as a fragile ceasefire holds in the Gaza Strip. Trump has pitched the Board of Peace as potentially the most consequential board ever assembled, expanding its scope beyond Gaza to resolving global conflicts, a vision that has sparked fears it could rival the United Nations. While dozens of countries are participating, key U.S. allies remain cautious observers, and controversy swirls over invitations to leaders including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Well, we'll be lifting a lot of bans pretty soon. I think you're going to see everything opening up. Gaza, look, we have peace in the Middle East. Now, you have some flames here and there, but we essentially have peace in the Middle East. And that happened primarily when we did the B-2 attack on the potential nuclear. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 1 month. If that happened, it would have been a whole different deal. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
So the $5 billion that you announced yesterday for the Board of Peace, is that a down payment, or are you expecting
We want to help people. That's peanuts compared to the kind of money that has been spent in the Middle East by Bush, by Obama, by all of these people, by Biden. I mean, the money he spent. But the money he spent, that's such a small amount of money by comparison. But we want to make it successful. I think it has the chance to be the most consequential board ever assembled of any kind.
That's all the time we have on this edition of Headlines at 8. Thanks for watching. Do join us again tomorrow.